Planetary relationships, it's probably the most important concept when it comes to understanding how healthy a planet is performing in your chart and in your consciousness. So each planet treats every other planet as a neutral, as a friend, or as an enemy. So if you have a conjunction of two planets and they're both friendly to one another, both those planets get enhanced, and it goes the same with enemies. So if a planet is getting a hard aspect from an enemy, the expression of the planet receiving the aspect, it's going to be diminished, or it's going to be harder for that planet to perform well in our consciousness. So these are called Lajjitaadi Avasthas, which means essentially the conditions of the planets. You can think of it as how the planets feel and how well they're able to do what they want to do. So if you'd like to know the full extent of your Lajjitaadi Avasthas in your chart, you can order my PDF written report at jmvedic.com. So in this final video of Mars, we're talking about Mars's friends. And Mars has 3 friends which are helping it achieve its objective in our consciousness. And the 3 friends are the Sun, the Moon, and Jupiter. So let's first talk about the Sun. So the Sun is the king in our consciousness, and it's saying within us, this is my vision for of my life. This is the plan that I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to create a world that's all my own, which reflects my inner reflection of what my soul is pushing me and wanting me to do. That's what the Sun is doing within us. So it's how well we're able to understand what our soul wants us to do, and then projecting our soul outwards and creating a world around us that is a reflection of that soul. So when we are gathering that plan, we have the ideas for that plan, the expression of our soul, and building a world around us, building our kingdom for the king to rule within. What happens is that the king turns to Mars as the implementer of that plan. So we have a vision for our life. How do we actually do that plan? That's when Mars gets brought into the equation. And it's Mars's job in our consciousness to create a workable strategy for that plan to work out in the real world. And that plan involves a lot of problem solving and getting over the obstacles and really being strategic and thinking on your feet and logically of how are we actually going to do this. But what's important to understand is that both the Sun and Mars are vision orientated. So this inner vision, this inner fire that we have, and this burning desire to express something, and this vision when you think of external vision. And Mars and the Sun are both described in the Vedic literature as planets that look up. So being able to see the best of something, to be able to see an ambition, to want to achieve an ambition. And all the planets look in a certain direction. For example, Saturn is always looking down. So Saturn is a part of us that sees weaknesses or doesn't have the same vision and is looking, and is a part of us that is aware that there's things in us that we're just not good at and we need to improve at. But the Sun and Mars are both looking up. They want to see the best in something, and they want to accomplish the best possible scenario in our life. So the Sun has this grand vision, this grand plan, and he has to count on Mars within us to share that vision and come up with a practical way to get to that vision. But Mars is looking up and seeing this is how we're actually going to get there, while the Sun is saying this is what the actual plan is. So when Mars is being helped by the Sun and these 2 planets are working comfortably and healthily together, the person has this inner confidence and are sure about something. And the feeling that they have all the plans worked out and ready to go, and are actually excited and feeling this push and this energy to go out and do it. It's not just having the plan, but actually the fire to go out and do it. So these 2 are a really great team, Mars and the Sun working together, that are focused on making life work in the external sense. And another important aspect you have to understand is that both Mars and the Sun are also what we call cruel planets. So even though they have this big vision, part of their job is to do difficult things in life and to have to deal with stressful situations. Because when you think of a grand vision or grand plan, you're going to have all of these it basically requires a lot of effort to get that going and get that moving. So these cruel planets are dealing with the difficulties in life, and it's their job to work in the difficult areas of life and not just to sit back and enjoy the fine things in life. No, it's their duty to go out and to put forward energy to get something done. So the Sun, it's cruel because it's making sacrifices for a higher goal. And Mars is cruel because it develops us through conquering tough situations and handling stressful situations. So both require a lot of conscious effort, and with that conscious effort, we're able to make big things happen in our life. But the two, as you can see, are very similar in that respect. This fiery planet that needs to put forth a lot of effort and deal with what we call cruel situations in order to make a vision become accomplished. So when the sun is helping Mars, when Mars sees this friend of his giving a gaze to him, an aspect, if Mars is conjunct the sun, or if Mars is in the sun sign Leo, what's happening is that this part of us, this Mars within us, this problem solving, working through a plan of action, strategizing, it gets this extra boost of encouragement knowing that it's a part of a bigger project. Imagine working in, say, a corporation or a company, and you have all these problems to solve, but you are completely unaware of what the goal of the work is. This happens a lot with defense contractors, or when you feel like you're just a cog in a system where, yeah, I'm making this little part and we're sending that part off and we don't really know what it's for. We know it's for the defense department or whatever. You don't feel like you're a part of a bigger plan. You are a part, but you're not really sure about what is the end goal of it. And you don't feel that you actually have a big say in it. You're disconnected from the larger plan at work. So that's when Mars is working alone. But when, on the other hand, when Mars has the authority, the leader, pushing it and helping it and giving it direct inspiration, it helps give more fuel to the fire to solve problems and to work things out in your life and to figure out how to make something work in a practical sense. You have the sun, you have an authority, you have a leader saying, okay, keep doing it like this. You're in direct contact with a larger project at hand, which gives a person more, like I said, fuel to go out and solve those problems. You feel like you're a part of something bigger, and that what you're doing has a purpose to it, and that what you're building, it's building towards something greater than what you are personally doing. So that's what it feels like to feel like you're on a team. You're all building towards something together. So that's a really healthy Mars, feeling like you're not alone and you don't have to do everything alone. And it's not just hard work, but it has this other, grand vision to it. So when the Mars in our consciousness is being assured by the sun, giving it confidence, a person is also instilled with more bravery and courage to fight the good fight in life. So even if something goes wrong or if there's failure involved, the person will know that what they're inspired to do or what they wanted to do came from a noble place within them. They had a purpose, and there was a reason for why I went out and I fought for a certain thing. I wanted to accomplish something. And even if it doesn't work out, you still can feel good about it because it came from a larger mission that you were doing it for. So when it comes down to it, the sun and Mars, when they are working together and they are fueling one another, a person feels a strong fire and a strong inspiration to accomplish something externally and great in life, and to really have a big vision, a big plan, and then also the practical know-how to implement that plan. So these two planets are this inner inspiration, this inner fire to go out and exert energy in the world and to have this ambition and to look up at doing something great. And these are the two planets that do that within us. So when they work together, they're mutual friends. A person will be instilled with more of that energy and will want to go out and, like I said, fight the good fight and make the world a better place, one step and one day at a time. So the next planet that Mars treats as a friend is the moon. And it's an interesting case because Mars is debilitated in the moon's sign. So the moon's energetic environment, that's the worst place for Mars to be located. But yet Mars treats that planet as a friend. It treats the moon as a friend. And only one other planet actually behaves that way, and that's Venus. Venus is debilitated in Mercury's sign, and Venus and Mercury are friends. So what this means is basically is that even when Mars is debilitated in Cancer, Mars is still getting some support from the moon. And he also gets supported by the moon when he's getting an aspect from the moon and when he's conjunct the moon. So when Mars is being helped by his friend the moon, the person is comfortable in their actions and their ability to resolve conflicts because they're able to connect the Mars work that they're doing, the Mars effort that they put forward, with personal ego development and also character development. So these people will understand that even when things are difficult, and especially when they're difficult, They know that there are areas in their ego, their moon, in their character that need to be improved on and that they need to practice and get better at. So that's how Mars receives that kind of comforting gaze of the moon, that kind of gentle and that emotional gaze, comforts Mars and realizes that there are parts of me that need to be developed, and I'm not at a final resting place of what I can improve on. There's always something I can make better about myself. And a lot of that improvement involves my ability to take care of myself, to nurture myself, and to grow emotionally. So we talked a lot in the moon videos about how the moon is our attitude, how we approach life, how we look at the world around us. So when the moon, our attitude, is helping Mars, it gives a person the willpower towards self-knowledge and self-improvement. So what Mars is doing is it's identifying problems and things that need to be improved in our life. And when the moon helps that, the person is able to direct that problem-solving ability towards oneself and seeing how we ourselves are in need of improvement, all of us. So that's how Mars gets helped by the moon. We are able to be honest with ourselves and see, I need to work on this part of my character, or my ego has this kind of hang up or this difficulty dealing with these situations. So that Mars' effort towards self-improvement or towards improvement becomes efforts towards self-improvement. And just take Mars debilitated in Cancer. As I said, it's the worst placement for Mars. So a lot of times these people lack assertion. They're a little bit too passive. They'll let their problems build up and then one day they'll explode because they're not healthily expressing their emotions and just becoming more and more frustrated. Well, what the moon is helping Mars to do, and what these people generally have, is that they're very aware of that problem. These problems are they're very much conscious of these problems, and they are very conscious of their weaknesses. So the moon is essentially illuminating the areas in the person that need to be improved, yet they can have low willpower to actually improve it, but they're very aware of it. So the first step on improving something in our life is just to be aware of it. So that's one benefit that the moon gives to Mars being debilitated, or a Mars that could be weak in a certain sense. So Mars wants to look inward and improve emotionally when it's getting helped by the moon. So the moon is our emotional center, and it's our ability for emotional intelligence. So when Mars is being aspected strongly by the moon, or the moon and Mars are conjunct, a person is very much more able to dissect their emotional world from a logical frame of mind. So being able to see why I felt this at a certain time, and feeling a certain way makes sense. And in other words, they have the ability to not become too overwhelmed by how they feel and can balance their emotional world with logic. And so this is generally when Mars is not in Cancer, because we talked a lot about how when Mars is in Cancer, emotions become a kind of a turbulent world, and the person really needs to work on how to, control emotions and to not become overwhelmed by them. But when in all other positions, the moon helping Mars helps to be able to understand emotions from a logical frame point. And I always talk about how emotions are very logical. We won't get into that now, but another benefit is that you can separate emotional times and then be able to turn off emotions at a certain point and become logical about something. So these two can work very harmoniously and have these two parts of our experience, the way we feel things in our body and the way to really think things through in our mind, they can become united in a healthy way. And of course, when we're solving problems and overcoming obstacles using our Mars, part of the reward for the successes that we have is feeling good about ourselves for those successes. So when the moon is helping Mars, these are the kinds of people that are able to kick their feet up after working and feel good about themselves internally, to have this kind of emotional area that they protect that feels that reward for having expended a lot of energy throughout the day. So when a person doesn't have the moon helping Mars, these people can have difficulty with that. They can feel more exhausted. They don't feel like the life is really taking care of them despite them working so hard. So this is another benefit of the moon and Mars working together, is that knowing at the end that the work is going to end and the stress is going to be over at some point, and that's when I'm going to find something in my life that I feel like I'm taking care of myself. I'm having this inner feeling of fulfillment. And so and it's directly related to the work that you did. It's not just two separate lives. Part of your life is feeling good about the work that you do, and that stress ends at a certain point and you're able to, kick back and feel good about whatever you've been solving throughout the day. So the final friend of Mars is Jupiter, and the Sun, Mars, and Jupiter are 3 fire planets that kind of form this triangle, and all 3 are really mutually benefiting each other, and they're all mutual friends to one another. So they kind of form this circle of like throwing logs on a fire, that they increase one another's ability to perform and to feel inspired and passionate about doing something in life. So what Jupiter does when Jupiter is helping Mars is that it gives a person more inspiration to pursue deeper psychological growth and also spiritual growth, and to work hard with rigor and with discipline to grow spiritually, essentially, and to be able to grow in wisdom, because Jupiter is the planet of our ability to be wise and to have a moral compass and to see the bigger picture of things. So when Jupiter is helping Mars, a person feels this extra push to pursue those as a goal in life, at least one of your goals in life. So Mars, supported by Jupiter, adds this element of self-development to Mars's action-orientated agenda, because it's not really enough to just spend our life solving problems with this strategic mindset and looking for things to overcome, defeating obstacles. There also has to be this healthy sense that our struggles mean something. And the greatest meaning we can derive from the stress and struggles of life that Mars is always dealing with is to know that we're growing spiritually in some way, that our soul is benefiting from the trials, failures, and conquering our fears in life, doing all these difficult jobs that Mars does. Well, knowing that there's a purpose to it all, Jupiter is the planet of purpose, it gives purpose to the difficulties that Mars is always dealing with. So a person will feel even more inspired to deal with problems because they know there's a bigger reason for it. It's really similar to the sun, how the sun has this grand plan, this grand scheme to achieve something and to have an ambition. Jupiter gives this bird's eye view, this expanded wisdom of knowing that there is a plan that I might not be fully aware of because I'm a plan that I'm not fully aware of, in the sense that there's a divine plan to it that I might not have access to directly, but there's a meaning to how everything is working out. And all of my struggles and the things that I struggle to do with my Mars, it's helping me discover more what the divine plan is for my own life. It instills that sense of goodness within us, that there is something good about the world. So, and that just adds more fuel to the fire to go out and do things. So Jupiter really is the planet that adds so much grace into our life, and that feeling good that there's meaning to what we're struggling to do. And we spoke so much about how Mars is our base of our concepts of what we believe should or shouldn't be done in life. It's our opinions and our ideas about how life should be lived. So Mars is this mental awareness that we have that there's a logical way to do things. What Jupiter does, it's the next step in the leveling up and of taking our concepts and building them into a worldview or a belief system about what is right and wrong. So Jupiter is the planet of morality and ethics. So there's this level of Mars which says you should do this in life, or you should not lie to people. And that's just a code of should or shouldn't do. That's what Mars says. You should not lie to people. Why shouldn't you lie to people? And you create a belief of why you shouldn't lie to people. That's Jupiter. That's taking it to the next step. Because if you don't have a larger framework for how you should, a meaning for why you should or shouldn't do things, you're basically just in an opinionated mindset, which is Mars. There's got to be a bigger reason to it, and that's what Jupiter does. So when Jupiter helps Mars, it gives a stronger code of ethics, and it helps a person to be able to work out a code of ethics that's logical, and it encompasses as many people as possible, because morality has to include everybody in it. You can't have different moral codes for different people. If you say this is something that should or shouldn't be done by people in life, you should be able to include that with all people. All people should do that. So what Jupiter does, it helps to expand a person's ability to create a belief system that can be used by the maximum amount of people, because it essentially becomes a universal law. So When Mars is getting helped by Jupiter, you're able to take your opinions to the next level and create a much more worked out belief system for why certain things happen, why moral codes should be a certain way. And you don't just keep it at that kind of base do or don't level that Mars is at. You're able to take it up and rise above to the next levels and take concepts and really create philosophies out of them that can then inform other areas of life. So Mars gets leveled up ideologically by Jupiter. So a Mars that is not getting helped by Jupiter in some way in a chart, these people can be very passionate people and about what they believe even as they get older. But what will happen is that as they get older, they'll lack the kind of peace of mind and wisdom that Jupiter gives from this higher perspective and this kind of larger view of things in life, and even almost dispassionate. Jupiter helps to, take a little, like soften the edges of Mars, where Mars really has this strong desire and passionate side. Jupiter helps to adds this kind of gentle glow that kind of eases off the fire to do something immediately or to have a strong opinion about something. Jupiter can really make things much more, it softens things up. So as a person gets older, what you want to see is that a person starts to find more peace in their life and to not feel that things are life and death, or that problems are really, really serious that have to be solved immediately or the world's going to end. What Jupiter does is it helps Mars become less and less passionate about having really strong beliefs about things and to be happy about what you have achieved in your life. So Mars, when it's not getting helped by Jupiter, these people really don't calm down and they don't see a bigger picture or be able to encompass other people into their worldview. They'll have very strong beliefs still later on in life when having those strong beliefs might not even be that useful to them. So a Mars supported by Jupiter gives this sense that goodness in people will eventually win out long term. So what Mars helped by Jupiter shows, it gives a person the sense that humanity will win out long term, and the story will have a happy ending. And essentially what that means is there's a faith in the goodness of human beings at the end of the day. So even within the pessimistic world that we live in nowadays, very atheistic, pessimistic, and things seem to just be going down, a Mars that's getting supported by Jupiter will see that there's somewhere that you can apply effort to make your own life or the world better in some way, shape, or form, and that effort is worth doing. So it doesn't matter how bad things can get, a nice Mars sees that there's something to be gained, or there's some kind of good you can find in putting forth, using your will to make changes in life, to improve your own life. It's not just all doom and gloom. There's always something you can do. And that's a really healthy understanding of your willpower, to see that there is a bigger purpose to what you're doing and to not get drawn into that, to feeling depressed about how humanity can have this or that problem. And what this can do is a Mars supported by Jupiter can make a person fiery and really want to inspire other people that there's always something that you can do to make things better and to not fall into a black hole of depression. So this is a nice combination for inspiring other people with a vision or a kind of a belief in humanity and a faith in humanity that things can get better over the long term.